Our story kicks off on a distant, dusty world orbiting a red sun. Ruthye Marye Knoll, our young narrator and the heart of this saga. Her world was shattered not long ago when her father crossed paths with a vile king's agent named Krem of the Yellow Hills. Words turned to blows, and in the end, Krem plunged his own fancy sword straight through her father's chest, leaving it there as a cruel marker. Ruthye's brothers blustered about revenge, but they chickened out, saying it was up to the gods. Not Ruthye. No, she pulled that sword from her dad's body, saddled up to her father's wild steed, and rode off into the night, her heart burning with a cold, unyielding fury. Ruthye tracks Krem's trail to a seedy bar where Supergirl's nursing her birthday binge. Ruthye spots a rough-looking bounty hunter, the kind with scars and a mean glint in his eye, and offers him Krem's sword as payment to help track the murderer down. But there's a catch. Ruthye insists she witnessed the killing blow. The hunter snatches the sword, pretends to contemplate for a second until he decides to tell her he will take the job and the sword, and he tries to walk out, figuring a kid like her is easy pickings. He slaps, threatens her, and things look grim. That's when Supergirl, slurring her words but with that unshakable sense of justice, steps in. Wait, stop, she growls as she holds onto the hilt of the sword. The hunter is dumbfounded, calling today the Festival of Impertinent Females. He stabs Kara in the hand, swipes at her chest with his sword, slashing across. Except even drunk, and her main focus being on not wasting any alcohol, Kara's no pushover. She smashes a bottle over his head, flips him over a table, and sends him crashing to the floor unconscious. She stands over him, Ruthye's sword in hand, and the iconic S symbol showing on her chest. Come morning, Ruthye's not done. She took care of the hungover Supergirl, pale, puking, and regretting every sip. She changed her clothes and redressed her in that iconic blue and red suit, which concerns Kara because no one is supposed to see her like that. But Ruthye's persistent. Once Supergirl has awoken, she gives her the same offer she gave the bounty hunter at the bar. Supergirl listens to her story, but she shakes her head, telling Ruthye that she is not staying here, and where she is going, she does not need a sword. She gets in a boat and starts to row away, wishing Ruthye good luck one more time and leaving her with sage Supergirl advice. Don't kill people, it's bad. Ruthye won't let go that easily. She swims in the raging river, clothes and all, to catch up, her determination like a force of nature. She corners Supergirl at the ship, begging one last time. The countdown to launch is already underway, the engines humming to life. Supergirl's trying to shoo her away for good, when thwack! An arrow slams into Kara's chest, right through her sternum. Blood blooms on her suit. Under this red sun, she's as fragile as anyone, and the pain hits like a freight train. It's Krem, lurking in the bushes with that traitorous bounty hunter from the bar. Krem's a sneering coward, bow in hand, grinning as Supergirl staggers. Then, horror of horrors, Krypto, the loyal Superdog who tagged along on this ill-fated trip, leaps to protect Supergirl, but Krem looses another arrow, straight into Krypto's neck. The dog yelps and crumbles. That does it. Supergirl's eyes blaze with rage. Even with arrows in her chest, she goes after them both. She pummels the bounty hunter, leaving him unconscious. But Krem, ever the opportunist, dashes past her toward the open ship as Supergirl chooses to let him go and stay with Krypto. Ruthye tries to stop him, but Krem kicks her in the stomach and runs onto the open ship. The auto launch kicks in, and with a roar, the vessel lifts off, carrying the murderer into the stars. Supergirl, ever the selfless one, didn't just lie there bleeding out. No, she hauled herself up, arrows and all, and rode, with Ruthye and the dying Krypto in tow. She got them to a healer in a nearby town, insisting the doc tend to the dog and the girl first. Turns out those arrows were laced with a nasty poison, and Krypto was hit the worst of all. The other two healed well, but the healer says they might have to put him down if they can't whip up an antidote without a sample of the poison used. Supergirl though, she's not having it. Gritting through the agony, she vows to track down Krem and accept Ruthye's mission. Together, they hop on public transport. The Hall Ferry, a rickety, overcrowded space bus crammed with aliens of every stripe, heading toward a yellow sun planet where Supergirl can recharge and maybe pick up Krem's trail. Supergirl slumped down and went out cold in her seat. Still recovering from her injuries, her head lolled back in exhausted slumber. Ruthye perched beside her, narrating the whole ordeal with that flowery eloquence of hers, painting this quest as some epic saga of justice. She squeezed next to a slimy alien dude whose men spreading into her space. Ruthye, no shrinking violet, lays into him with her sharp tongue. The guy backs off, grumbling. The ferry docks at a dingy spaceport for a pit stop, and the pair stumble out for some grub. Supergirl's fully awake now, but she's still powerless under whatever dim light they're orbiting, moving like she's got the galaxy's worst hangover. They're munching on some alien slop when trouble finds them. A gun-toting alien stomps up, eyes blazing with hate. "Are you really Supergirl?" he snarls, waving his blaster. Turns out his brothers are rotting in the Phantom Zone, courtesy of Superman putting them there. He figures Supergirl's close enough for payback. Kara, calm as ever, tells him, "I'm wearing a big yellow S on my chest and a fashionable red skirt. If I'm not Supergirl, who the fuck do you think I am?" But he's not listening, so Kara elbows him, smashes his head on the bar, and kicks out the legs from under his stool, sending him crashing down to the floor. The guy's out cold, while Ruthye watches as Kara doesn't even flinch. She then pays the barkeep as she tells Ruthye they'd better get going. Back on the Hall Ferry, things escalate when the ship veers into danger. A massive space dragon, all teeth and metal-munching jaws. Kara and Ruthye go to the captain as he explains that what this is a Carpain dragon and they are not supposed to be in this sector during this time. He looks at Supergirl with pleading eyes and says, "Can't you do something super or whatever?" Still depowered, she says, "I spent a lot of time on that planet with the wrong sun. We haven't hit any good suns yet. I'm not really charged if that makes sense." So Kara goes to the passenger cart and starts searching for reds. One passenger nervously raises his hand as having a prescription red kryptonite capsules. Basically hallucinogenic drugs for most folks, but for Kryptonians, unpredictable power boosts with a side of risk. Kara doesn't hesitate. She pops it like candy, and whoosh, her body ignites in flames. Wings of fire sprouting from her back, turning her into this ethereal, angelic powerhouse straight out of some forgotten myth. She soars straight at the dragon and dives into its gaping maw, burrowing right into its brain. Boom! The beast explodes in a shower of gore, saving the ship and everyone aboard. In the quiet aftermath, Supergirl, washing up, notices Ruthye, for the past month they have been traveling, has never washed her hands, so she teaches her how to use water and soap, to always check that it's soap and not acid, and in small bits she also shared some of her thoughts about Krypton and her mother. Over this, Ruthye probes deeper. After the tragedy of your planet's destruction, did you too seek to avenge the death of your family? Supergirl pauses, her eyes distant. No, she admits softly. Ruthye absorbs it, narrating how she felt in that moment. In Supergirl's tone, in her answer she heard a whole life of regret. The ride drags on, Supergirl dozing again. Another creep tries to crowd Ruthye, but this time, Kara's eyes snap open. Without a word, she hauls off and punches the guy square in the face, sending him unconscious. No words uttered, just one swift motion, and back to sleep before arriving at their destination. And that destination is the planet Koron, a rugged world bathed in the golden glow of a yellow sun, the kind that ignites Kryptonian blood like rocket fuel. chasing whispers of Krem's trail through dusty outposts and bustling markets. Folks clam up or feign ignorance when asked about the king's agent. Finally, a tip points them to Maypole, a picture-perfect settlement nestled in a verdant valley. All neat houses, blooming gardens, and smiling faces. The residents are blue-skinned, every last one, and they greet the strangers with that overly polished hospitality that sets your teeth on edge. Supergirl, her powers fully restored, starts poking around, Ruthye trailing like a determined shadow. Kara questions a shopkeeper, a baker, a cop, anyone and everyone that she can find. Undeterred, Supergirl presses on. She corners the town official in his office, where he's meticulously building a towering house of cards. She asks about Krem, but he stonewalls, so Kara exhales a puff of super breath, toppling the structure in a flutter of chaos. That night, in their modest inn room, the facade cracks wide open. Gunfire erupts through the windows, blast riddling the walls in a hail of energy bolts. Supergirl reacts in a blare, throwing herself over Ruthye like a living shield, her body absorbing the hits without a scratch. The assault ends as quick as it started, the attackers melting into the shadows. But after Kara assures that Ruthye is safe, she flies out and rounds up the attackers. But the mayor, a smug blue bureaucrat, he keeps mocking her, being condescending and downright rude as Supergirl tries to be respectful. But at a certain point, fury boils in Supergirl's eyes. She picks up the desk and splinters his desk to kindling. She accuses him of trying to scare her off, and she assures him she will find out what he is trying to hide. Realizing ground-level sleuthing won't cut it, Supergirl makes a tough call. She's avoided flying with Ruthye so far, worried the heights might scare the girl after all she's been through. But needs must. "I'm going to keep you safe," Kara says gently, scooping Ruthye up and launching into the sky. The view from above is breathtaking at first, Coron's beauty unfolding like a tapestry. But then they spot it, Purple Town, or what's left of it. Supergirl started digging. She did not stop until she found the sign, and the bodies buried beneath the rubble. Supergirl returns to Maypole with Ruthye, confronting the constables and mayor anew. This time, the truth spills out like poison from a lance wound. Long ago, the planet was shared with the Purples, a marginalized group confined to the ghettos like Purple Town by laws and prejudice. Seen as lesser, their lives cheap. Then came the Brigands, a ruthless band of space outlaws, the same horde Krem now runs with, demanding tribute or death. The Blues scrapped together what they could, but it wasn't enough. Enter Krem, who'd been locked in their jail for some prior crime. Ever the opportunist, he whispered a vile solution. Why pay more? Give them the Purples instead. Let the Brigands slake their bloodlust on those inferiors. The Blues, complicit in their cowardice, agreed. The outlaws descended on Purple Town in a night of fire and slaughter, wiping out the entire population while the Blues turned a blind eye, preserving their peaceful ideal. In gratitude, the Brigands recruited Krem, and he vanished into the stars with them, his trail leading our heroes here. Ruthye, who thought her father's murder the pinnacle of cruelty, reels from the scale of it all, her young mind shattered by the universe's capacity for horror. Kara, drawing from her own losses on Krypton, sits and pulls her close in a moment of tenderness. From that, their journey takes them to the ruined planet Parnat. Supergirl and young Ruthye step carefully through the carnage. In the distance, a tiny pink infant, the last Parnatian alive, cries in Supergirl's arm. All around them, bodies stretch to the horizon in every direction. The ground is scorched, the air thick with smoke. They have followed the blood wake left by Krem of the Yellow Hills, and this is what remains. The crying child clings to Supergirl as she stares out over the burning landscape. The infant's wails are the only sound left on a planet that once teemed with life. After Parnat, the trail of blood leads them farther into the stars. On a small moon called Inkelm, orbiting the planet Askalm in the distant Piats galaxy, they find a green alien lying armless and legless in a hospital bed. Tubes and machines keep him alive. With a broken voice, he tells them how the brigands came through, how they tortured and killed his best friend Vlarg. Right in front of him, he describes Krem in chilling detail, the leader among the killers. Supergirl gently helps the survivor eat his meal, spoon by spoon, before they leave him to his pain. Next, on the quiet planet Toulouse, they meet a short, weary goblin-like alien digging graves, one after another. He is exhausted, sweat dripping from his brow, and he tells them he still has 120 graves left to dig. He recognizes the brigands immediately. This wasn't their first time plundering his world. Supergirl offers to help. In a blare of super speed that lasts just 5 seconds, she finishes every remaining grave. The old alien takes her hand in grateful silence, shakes it warmly, and gives her a new title on his world, Neighbor. On the harsh world of Uralan, they find a towering purple titan named Irasan. Ruthye explains that Uralanian culture forbids showing sorrow, emotions are buried deep, or others will punish you for them. Supergirl stands still and lets the grieving titan pummel her again and again, absorbing every blow. Finally, Irasan collapses, unable to hold the pain any longer, and breaks down in tears. Supergirl wraps her arms around the massive creature. Through sobs, Irasan tells them her entire family was slaughtered by the brigands while she was away fighting a war against the Picts in another galaxy. She came home to nothing but ashes. On Tirkum, they trek through forests of flowing lava until they reach a grand citadel behind a golden gate. Ruthye explains that these people recording everything the brigands did when they passed through. Supergirl refuses to let Ruthye watch the tapes. She wants to protect the girl's innocence. Eventually, Ruthye reluctantly agrees. Alone inside, Supergirl views the recording. When she emerges, her face is pale, her eyes distant. She cannot find words for what she saw. Ruthye does not ask, and Supergirl does not tell. On the next world, the locals manage to capture one of the brigands mid-massacre. As he faces execution, his final words are proud. He brags about how much he enjoyed torturing the Yallah people. Supergirl and Ruthye watch silently as the crowd stones him to death. Afterward, Ruthye turns to Supergirl and says, "I had some thought that you'd save him." Supergirl looks at her, expression blank and remorseless. "Did you?" They arrive on Ekvik, once known as one of the most beautiful and peaceful worlds in the universe, tended by silent monks who had never known war. Now, inside a colossal cathedral that reaches into the clouds, there is only blood and scattered body parts. The magnificent city lies in the smoking rubble beneath a cheerful yellow star. Overwhelmed, Supergirl flies straight to the surface of the star and screams. Finally, on the silent world of Nisseland, no life remains. Ruthye refuses to speak of what they found there, whispering only, "For some tales are too sad to tell." They sit together in a quiet forest of tall, newly bloomed mushrooms under a blanket of stars. Supergirl tells Ruthye that she feels in her heart the next world will be the one where they finally face Krem and the brigands. Out of fear for her young friend, Supergirl asks Ruthye not to come. Ruthye refuses. She is entitled to her revenge. Supergirl nods. Together, they rise into the night sky and fly toward whatever waits ahead. Supergirl and Ruthye finally catch up with Krem of the Yellow Hills, who stands wading in a field of fire and corpses. Before they can apprehend him, Krem unleashes a Mordru Glow, a magical weapon powered by the joy of killing thousands, which teleports Supergirl and Ruthye away to the planet Barrington, a world under a green sun that acts like green kryptonite, causing Supergirl immediate pain and weakness. On Barrington, a prehistoric world inhabited by massive dinosaurs and monsters, Supergirl explains that this planet was designed as a trap for her cousin Superman. He barely lasted 45 minutes there before the Justice League rescued him. Now Supergirl must survive 10 long hours until the sun sets and her powers can return. She and Ruthye head to an elevated plateau to wait out the day. A massive monster approaches their position. Ruthye, standing guard with her father's sword, defends the helpless Supergirl and slays the creature, dispatching it with a hint of pride. Pterodactyl-like creatures descend to feast on the monster's carcass and turn their attention to the duo. The feverish Supergirl awakens just enough to unleash a blast of heat vision, scaring them off. She cracks off a joke. It's a fucking bird. No, it's a plane. Or no, it's Supergirl. With the sun nearly down, Supergirl believes she is dying and desperately needs water from a nearby lake. Despite the monsters lurking there, Ruthye stands her ground and tries to stop her, even raising her sword to block the way. As a final monstrous threat approaches them, the green sun sets just in time. Supergirl's powers surge back. She takes out the monsters, calls Superman a little shit, grabs Ruthye, and flies them both off the planet, escaping the nightmare. On the planet Uralan, we see Krem and the brigands torment the locals. Narrating, Ruthye says that on the way to Uralan, after escaping Barrington, Supergirl told her the story of Krypton's destruction, where we see flashes of Krypton's last days. We see Supergirl find Krem on Uralan. Krem threatens her with another Mordru orb, throwing it, saying there's no chance she can outrun it, but she has a plan. Running from the orb at supersonic speeds, rending the earth beneath her, she finds Comet, hops on his back, and takes off into space. Krypton did not die in a day, Ruthye says. The gods are not that kind. We see Krypton's doom as it explodes, and we see as Argo City is split from the surface. Most of the city's people died in the split, but some endured, including the scientist Zor-El, Supergirl's father, who made an artificial atmosphere bubble over the city, keeping the remaining people alive. We see Allura and Ze, Kara's mother, die, drifting through space. The last remnants of Krypton turned to kryptonite. The very earth beneath them was poisoning them. Zor-El found that lead shielding could block the radiation, but the task was massive and deadly. By the end, only Kara had the strength to finish it. 18,000 citizens of Argo survived the explosion, but 13,000 died from the radiation. Space seems to stretch as Comet outruns the orb, as we see Argo a year later when the storm came. Bits of meteorite, the size of bullets, starting to chip away at the shielding, and the radiation returned. She found her father in his lab, crying. She asked, "Is there hope?" He said, "There is always hope for you." He told her that the shield can't be rebuilt, that the radiation will return, but he can use the resources he has left to build a ship that can carry a single passenger. "We will die. You will live." She protested, asking why it should be her. He says, "Because you're my little girl, and I have to save you." She asked, "The things I've seen, how can I still be a little girl?" He told her tomorrow will come soon enough. This place will pass, and I will pass, and stars will fall, and suns will rise, and you will be a woman looking back on the many decades of your life, the terrors and the triumphs. And perhaps you will think of your father then, and perhaps you will remember whatever has happened, whatever pain you have ever endured. You are still my little girl. We see Comet go past to the edge of the universe, where the Big Bang hasn't reached. As the Mordru orb follows, it fizzles out, for the powers of magic can't reach what the source has not. Narrating, Ruthye says that it's a cliché metaphor to say that everyone carries the weight of the world on their shoulders, but for Supergirl, it's no metaphor. Every day of her life, she carries that dead planet with her. Every day, as she walked through the many valleys of death, she felt its weight pushing her into dirt, and every day she kept on walking. Supergirl and Comet return to Uralan to capture Krem. On the planet's surface, Supergirl ties the captured Krem to a tree. She leaves him there with Ruthye and Comet to guard. while Supergirl flies off into space to confront the rest of the brigands aboard her massive pirate ship, the Bonnie Prince Charlie. She's immediately buffeted by cannon fire, projectiles, and other weapons as the battle begins. Back on the planet, Ruthye contemplates killing Krem to avenge her father, but Comet refuses to allow it, neighing in protest and standing guards. In space, the fight escalates beyond expectations. Supergirl is struck hard, knocked unconscious, and plummets through the planet's atmosphere. But as she falls, Ruthye explains how Supergirl was thinking about a happy memory that flashes back to her, a young Kara with her father Zor-El on Krypton. He's trying to make her a snack on the griddle but messes it up, telling her not to tell her mother Allura. The memory awakens Supergirl. Determined not to die and lose such precious recollections, she surges back up, flies straight into the ship, and demolishes it from the inside out. She bursts onto the deck with clenched fists, engaging the brigands in brutal hand-to-hand combat. While on the planet, Ruthye ungags Krem to question him. He reveals his backstory. He's a King's agent, a tax collector for the King. He killed Ruthie's father not just for duty, but because the father didn't laugh at his joke and made him feel inferior. In space, the brigands overpower Supergirl and string her up in chains laced with kryptonite, weakening her severely. Trust and vulnerable, Supergirl declares that as Supergirl she doesn't hate anyone, a statement Ruthie's narration calls a well-told lie. Facing a gun loaded with a kryptonite bullet, Supergirl realizes Comet will sense her danger and come to rescue her, leaving Ruthye alone with Krem. She pleads desperately, her words initially sounding like begs for mercy, but actually warning Comet not to abandon Ruthye. Comet streaks off into space to save her anyway. At the end of their quest, Supergirl and Comet battle Barban's brigands in the orbit of the planet Fiorin, leaving Ruthye with the imprisoned Krem. Ruthye tells Krem that she'll give him more than he gave her father by freeing him and fighting him fairly, leaving the sword he left at the scene of her father's murder between them, sticking out of the sand. In the orbit above, Comet is killed by the brigands, turning back into his pre-cursed self, and Supergirl frees herself and defeats them. Ruthye and Krem stand on the shore, each waiting for the other to run and grab the sword. Krem dies for it, but dives right into a kick from Ruthye, knocking him over. He sweeps her and grabs the sword, but misses on a swing, getting kicked in the face. Ruthye bites into his arm, making him drop the sword, picking it up herself. She tells him what she's planned to tell him for months, a story of what her father told her when she was young, that life often was merciless and tedious. Krem, on his knees, tries to dive at her, interrupting her, but she slashes at him, cutting the fingers of his right hand. She continues, saying that despite everything, she is what made the hardships worthwhile. Krem says her father was no one, that his life wasn't worth this. She swings the sword at him, but stops herself. She tries again, missing her still bloodied opponent. She tries again and again, but can't take the killing blow. Kara, carrying Comet, flies down to the beach, seeing the scene. Kara tells Ruthye what happened and says, "We're at the end, aren't we?" Taking the sword from Ruthye, approaching Krem. Ruthye asks, "What about Krypto?" Kara reveals that she lied, and Krypto is fine. She says she lied because Ruthye wouldn't learn that executing people is wrong just from her saying it, and that Ruthye would waste her life chasing Krem, dream of Krem the way Kara does of Krypton. Kara lifts the sword to kill Krem. She says she brought Ruthye along so she would learn, but she couldn't teach her anything because no matter what she believes, she still dreams of Krypton. She couldn't save her world, couldn't fix the loss she felt, couldn't get vengeance, but she could save Ruthye by avenging her loss instead of her. Ruthye pleads with her, saying she doesn't have to kill Krem. She tells Kara that she's stronger than she gives herself credit for. As she's seen in their quest, she's lost everything, and she still has the strength to survive, to do what she's done. Ruthye says that when her father was killed, she felt it was all truly chaos, that if a man of his grace and kindness could be snuffed out, then nothing mattered at all, and that this killer should not be spared of that essential truth. But across their journey, Supergirl made her believe that goodness lived on. Supergirl drops the sword, and quoting Ruthye says, "It's too big, we're too small." In the distant future, an elderly Ruthye sits on her porch as Supergirl and Krypto arrive. They talk about the book Ruthye wrote of their adventures. Kara says that the Phantom Zone warden said Krem has grown to regret his crimes across the many years. She takes out the Phantom Zone prison and activates it, releasing an elderly Krem from the Phantom Zone. Krem, overtaken with shame, thanks them for not killing him and begs for Ruthie's forgiveness. Ruthye takes a moment and then smacks Krem with her walking stick. Kara, Ruthye and Krypto walk off, leaving Krem alive in the fields where it all started.